show you how to set up your graph using Google Sheets so that you can just copy and paste it into your lab report. So the first thing you're going to do is make sure you have your lab report open, and you're just going to copy and paste your whole data table. So copy it and then go ahead and open up a new Google Sheet. So just select blank. And then once it's open, click this top A1 box. And you can just push Control V to paste your data table in. Now, when you paste your data table in, if you included units in your data table, that's fantastic. Thank you for doing that. However, the computer doesn't know what to do with letters when it's trying to evaluate data. So see how I have units right here. I'm going to delete those units. So it's just numbers in here. And that makes it so the computer can actually evaluate those numbers, because the computer is just not quite as smart as you are. So once you have everything set, I would also like to point out that my independent variable is all along the left side here, my different brands of paper towels, and it's also labeled. If you do it that way, it will automatically set up your independent variable along the x-axis if it's that first vertical column. And then your dependent variable goes across the top. Now, if you didn't set it up that way in your data table, it's okay. But just make sure it's set up that way in here in your Google Sheet when it's graphing it for you. Otherwise, you won't have your variables along the right axis. So if I have all my labels here, my independent variable along the vertical here, my dependent across, if I highlight all of my data, and then I click on this button that looks like a little graph, it's called Insert Chart. If I select this, then it will automatically graph the data for me. So the only thing you need to do after that is to make sure everything's labeled and set up correctly. So it's going to automatically make this key for you. You don't really need this key. So if you click on it, it will open up the legend options here in your customized settings. And if you click under position and select none, it'll get rid of that for you. If you want to keep it and label first trial, second trial, if you're going to do that, that's fine. But if you did averages, then you probably don't need labels for a single bar. It's up to you. The next thing we need to do, I have my label correctly along the bottom here for independent variable, but if yours isn't correct there, then you're going to go to chart and axis titles. And depending on which one you want to edit, you have to select type here. So if I'm editing my entire graph title, then I select chart title. So I'm going to call this paper towel absorbency. Let's spell it right, huh? And that changes the title of my graph. Then I'm missing my vertical axis label, my y-axis label, which is milliliters of water absorbed. So I'm going to select vertical axis title, and then I'm going to enter milliliters of water absorbed. And that will enter the correct label here. So I have my units, which is milliliters, and the amount of water absorbed. Make sure that you have your units in there, all right? Otherwise, you're going to lose points. So this graph is all set. It looks good. You can also edit more of the settings. You can change the color of your bars if you click on them and change this little color here. This is under the series setting. If you want to customize it, that's fine. Just make sure it's easy to read, and that if you printed it out, using black and white, which is what you would do if you printed it out here at school, that you would still be able to read it and it wouldn't use a ton of ink. Once it's highlighted, so it's outlined in blue, then you can copy, Control C. You can go back to your lab report, and I've already done it here, but in your analysis section, then you can Control V, paste. You don't have to link to the spreadsheet. It really doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. Either one's fine. But then you copy and paste it, and it's right there in your lab report. And then after your graph, you're going to go ahead and write your conclusion. A lot of times underneath our graph, we do a little summary of the data and the patterns we see. This example right here is a really long summary. Yours doesn't have to be this long, but 1 or 2 sentences summarizing the data in your graph is really nice. All right, good luck. Let me know if you have questions.